A big warm welcome, please, for Sheila K. Adams. Thank you.
Well, there comes a time you get too old where high heels fall off them, and you can't remember how to get back up. Well, I'm doing traditional ballads, and they did not call them ballads, they called them love songs. And the gorier they were, the more I liked. And if they mentioned cutting off heads and kicking it against the wall, I was all over it. Or if it was slightly a little dirty, I loved those as well. And Inez Chandler knew a lot of them. And when I come out here, I always feel like I've got a stage full of people. Because I feel like Granny's out here, and Brazil's out here, and Kaz is out here. And that's kind of neat. But I'm going to do one of Dillard Chandler's because he could not read or write. And so he had to catch all of the songs by ear. And he would use his voice in interesting ways. It's a sailor being tarred, Lord. He hung down his head. It's a sailor being tarred, Lord. He hung down his head. And he asked a little maid for to show him the bed. Her a being just a maid, not thinking any harm. Her being just a maid, Lord, not a thinking any harm. Hey, she jumped up in the bed and she rolled up in his arms.
So who are the 8 ballad singers?
There was, the oldest one was Aunt Zip. She's the one that lived to be 108 plus 4. Let's see, there was Evelyn Ramsey. There was Doug Walling. Then there was Granny, Deli Chandler Norton. And then there was Brazilla Chandler Walling. They were sisters. And then there was Inez Chandler. Then there was Kaz Walling. There was Dillard Chandler. And I realized over the last 2 years, Dillard was the first person that I remember at 5 years old hearing sing a song. And I said, oh, I want to learn every single one of these songs that I possibly can. I want to sing just like that. Because before, people still sat on porches, still sang, still laughed. I remember falling asleep to the sound of laughter from my aunts and uncles on the porch at Mama's and Daddy. It was the most secure, wonderful feeling in the world because they were in charge. And God was in his heaven. All was right with the world.
My father, he was a rich old jade. My mother, she was a lady fair. And me a being the only heir. So love has brought me to despair. It's when I wore my long silk gown, he'd follow me. As a little boy, I thought songs were written to be sung or recorded. I didn't know that people always had entertainment of that sort, and that until they had record players and radios that you could only pass it along by word of mouth. And they would pick them up from many, many different sources, from family, from neighbors, from friends, and from strangers. So things got transmitted and passed along. Some of the ballads lead back to Great Britain in the days of lords and ladies, and it's always amazing to me to hear mountain folk sing about those things when I knew that their families for generations hadn't even seen the ocean, much less what laid across the big pond. One of the reasons that you find maybe a more quantity of old songs and stories in certain areas of the Appalachians, especially northwestern and western North Carolina, is the fact that it was so hard to get to some of these places. Madison County, that had a number of areas that were almost inaccessible, held on to old speech patterns and customs and songs, probably far longer than communities not so very far away. Sheila K. Adams was raised in the community where most of those ballad singers lived in Madison County, in the Revere section, or as it was more popularly known as Sodom.
I am still as blessed as any one person can ever be. I've had a wonderful family, wonderful memories. I had a wonderful husband who just got sick, and I wish he was here, because he would love this whole thing, love this whole experience, people coming tonight. And all Jim wanted in this world was for me to be happy. He knows. He knows. Back to the salt mines.
She's a pretty girl. She warbles as she flies, but she never cries cuckoo till the 4th day of July. I love that little
Career-wise, I guess in the next 10 years, what I would like to have accomplished is to get as many young people to start developing a passion and understand the wonder behind this ancient tradition I've got of the old love songs, to make that younger generation want to learn. And that's what I'm after. Just once they sit down and share that song with somebody in the old way, if I get them to look skyward one time, I will have lived my life fulfilled. Because our lack here now in this day of technology and everything is community and closeness to people.
I'm very much attached to the Appalachians, Blue Ridge Mountains. So I was looking for a place to settle. I'd been looking for 10 years. And during all of that time, I was a fan of Sheila K. Adams and her work. And so me settling in Madison County, me settling in Sodom had everything to do with the reputation that was relayed to me from, her stories. So Sheila put Sodom on the map for me. Again, that is something else I gathered from her stories, was that there was a level of culture and community connection here that was very difficult to find elsewhere. There are these wonderful little vestiges of a culture that has almost vanished, but not quite. It's vanished just about everywhere else, though. A pretty fair miss down in a garden, when a brave young soldier comes riding by, and he stepped up and did address her, saying, "Pretty fair miss, won't you marry me?" Well, she threw her lily white arms around him, and straight before him she did fall, saying, "You're the very one that used to court me before you went away to war." And they walked down the path together, his hands around her waist so trim. And then he told her beautiful story, and then she gave her heart to him.
I think I was born with a lot more strength than I even realized. But for some reason, there's some energy. And I think the energy is there for all of us to tap into. It's just the energy of God. And if you think about a banjo, first string, second string, third string, fourth string, that's the bass string. But right above it is the fifth string, which is the smallest string and the highest vibration. Imagine standing on that fourth string, but somehow being able to reach up and hook into that fifth string vibration, which is so fast, it's a wonder we can hear it. But so necessary in every banjo tune I play, because it keeps the rhythm. So to go from that low vibration on that fourth string, just up less than a quarter of an inch, and hook into that high energy string. And I think that's what I did. Because right above our head, I feel like runs the fifth string. That's just the way I look at God.
Not in that Inez way that I love so much.
I know. Trust her to speak her mind.
That's right.
That's right.
Now we've got Sheila K. Adams coming to give us her floor spot.
I want to do one for Ian, actually. It talks about old Edinburgh town. One has taken the kitchen girl, and one has taken the hall. But Mary Hamilton's gone within to the greatest steward of all. Ah, save your tears, weep not for me, just let my folly not be thine. I stand before you a maid today, but them gallows steps I shall climb. Oh, it's little did my mother think when she first cradled me, the lands that I would travel, or the countries I would see.
Right, you all right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all right. Let's go, Bessie. It's just an inconvenience. But one, nevertheless, that has to be taken care of for right now. 'Cause I broke it sure as the world. Dang it. It'll heal.
So, what was going on with the tree every day?
Oh, the hemlock? This one?
Yep.
It's sick. Well, since I hugged the tree, I wish it would heal my toe now. That's okay, I'll heal it myself.
Here's a health to the company and one to my lass. We'll drink and be merry all out of one glass. We'll drink and be merry, all grief to refrain, for we know not when we will all meet again.
Did you do that Cass Wallen song about the Darby Ram?
Oh my gosh. I want you to know, I performed Darby's Ram at the Heritage Festival on Saturday.
Minus a couple verses.
Minus certain verses.
You left
but
out
I let
the
everyone,
two good ones?
Just like,
Yeah, no,
just like,
hear
but I let
those
everyone know they were
Juicy
better
bits.
verses, and if they wanted to hear them, they could ask me after the show.
The non-juicy version.
They
I
were
do
so
the Darby's Ram. Well,
Yeah.
go ahead and do it.
Okay. I'm gonna do it kind of different.
That's all right. That's fine.
This ram, the head on this ram was as big as Noah's Ark. My dog ran up the nostril and turned around and barked to my far-diddle day. You wanna do them the dirty verses?
Sure, why not? Well, the tool on this ram, it drug upon the ground. It drug a ditch 10 foot wide from London to Darby's town. To my far-diddle day.
The man who cut this ram's throat, he stood knee deep in blood. The man who held the vessel got washed away in the flood. To my far-diddle day. To know that people 400 years ago were voicing the same issues and were feeling the same emotions is a really encouraging thing. I think it bonds us to a community that is stronger even than like the individuals who are directly surrounding us. Like it makes us understand that our heritage is so deep and so rich, and there's actually hundreds of years of support for what we do. So, and the way that the Wattersons and other groups have kind of updated these songs in a lot of ways, I want to do with labor music and with ballads too. Bingham Bailey had 3 sons, Falladay, Falladay, Fallaring Stummadary. Oh, well, Bingham Bailey had 3 sons, Willie was the youngest one. Falladay, Falladay, Fallaring Stummadary. Oh, Willie would a hunting ride, Falladay, Falladay, Fallaring Stummadary. Oh, well, Willie would a hunting ride with a sword and pistol by his side. Falladay, Falladay, Fallaring Stummadary. Oh,
to lay his Mary dear among the roses. Well, he took out his penknife, and it was both long and sharp, and he plunged it right into his own dear Mary's heart. Yes, he plunged it right into his own dear Mary's heart.
Aye, the Rose and the Lindsay, oh, and there 'twa bonny boys was born. Oh, ah, by the green woods, idey, oh.
Saddle it, night dee-doo-da-na-dee. Island-na-dee-doo-da-nay. Sailing-and-loading-loading-loading-doo.
There's a challenge of cultural density or something, like when it was just villages in the holler, the only entertainment was the six of us who live on this hilltop, you know, and it was all direct, and it was grandma to mom to, you know, it's Sheila Kay's experience, or, you know, but in a sense it's about community building, but in a different way, where you don't have to try to learn this new thing, but it's going to be part of kind of the culture from beginning to end, because when it, in a sense, when it's being diffused, that's how you're losing these. If there's a ballad that disappears every year, regardless of YouTube or anything else, because there just aren't enough. You know, the kids don't think it's cool, you know.
What we've got now is we've got an amazing amount of Appalachian singers, but many of them are just like us. There's not this holy grail anymore of like a place where ballads exist and there's no TV and there's no satellite and no YouTube and nothing that doesn't exist. But what does exist is this like awesome tradition that's right alongside hip hop and like, you know, country music. And so I've used to be a purist, and I used to be this like totalitarian about the tradition and who did you learn this from? And what it's come down to now for me is like, it's not about the singer, but it's more about the song. And the singer, I love the singer because they bring so much to it, but these songs are powerful because they've made it through all these singers.
He wasn't just my husband. He was my straight man on stage. He was a genius musician, so talented. He had a voice like angels. And that's what I tell Ezra, my grandson, that Pop now is happy as he can be because he's singing with the angels.
From the bright sunny south to war I was sent, ere the days of my boyhood I scarcely had spent. From its cool, shady forest and deep flowing stream.
But I do remember in hindsight, in September of 2008, we were on stage in Kingsport, Tennessee. We were playing Mississippi Sawyer, which we had played, I know, at least 80 times, because it was part of a medley that we did. And Jim looked at me in the middle of Mississippi Sawyer. He glanced over at me and said, "What tune are we playing?" And I said, "Well, hell, Jim, we only know 3, pick one," like maybe Mississippi Sawyer. The minute I said Mississippi Sawyer, I saw the light go on. So in September was when he started to develop mental symptoms of Lyme's disease. We had started to have some problems which we'd never had before. Jim started to be very aggressive, which he was the most gentle man alive. And I couldn't figure out what had happened. I was getting ready to leave on Sunday to do a performance in New York at Hamilton College. I was going to be gone for a week. And Jim got it in his mind that I was leaving him. And I kept saying, "Jim, honey, I'm not leaving you. I'm just going to do a performance, a job." And that was when I realized something was very, very wrong, because his eyes didn't even look like Jim's. The pupils were really big and dilated, and he was very, he was enraged. And so I was trying to get ready to leave the next day, and I thought, okay, I'll just stop. You know, and as I was coming down the steps, I said, "What is that sound?" And Andrew came out from the back room and he said, "Mama, Jim is dashing kerosene on the sides of the house. And he's already," and I looked at the floor, and this strong smell of kerosene registered. You know, I had smelled it, but it didn't register until Andrew said kerosene. And I looked at the floor, and I saw all this kerosene on the floor, and I said, "Andrew, get your stuff. Start putting stuff in the car. And I'm going to see if I can stall him." And I called 911. It took them 45 minutes to get here. And he said to me, Sheila, you are the most damn stubborn woman I have ever seen in my life. Take all the time you need. And he went walking out to the shop. Got the bullets, shot once into the baseboard, and then shot himself in the head. Well, the year before he died, and it's been almost 3 years ago, Jim planted, and I didn't realize this, he planted a bunch of daffodils. I've decided that's Jim's way every single spring of saying that he loves me. But, you know, I just love my mountains. Sure is a pretty place. So last year, on Ash Wednesday, my hands started bleeding, and my feet started bleeding. I even went to the doctor, and they have x-rays of, there's a wound that goes all the way through my hands and comes out right here. And now I'm noticing this right here is starting to rough up again right around there. See, it looks like an old scar that's starting to. And so and it feels like when I walk that I'm walking on glass. My feet hurt so bad. But I wound up going to 7 different doctors. One doctor this time last year was picking splinters out of my hands. Tell me that doesn't look like splinters. You know, again. You know, just where you'd get a splinter and it'd start to come out. And that's exactly what it looks like. But see, I wasn't even thinking about it because I didn't think that it was going to happen again. I thought it was just a fluke, that it was something that I'd done to myself, or that I'd gotten into some kind of big spiritual thing last year, because I was pretty spiritual last year. I still am. But I'm not a Christian, you know. And so finally my doctor, Nettie White, the one that was picking the splinters out of my hand, even though there were not supposed to be splinters in my hand, said neither was Jesus Christ. He was not a Christian. I said, oh. But I have scars that they cannot explain. No doctor can explain them. So all they can tell me now is eczema. But when the bruise shows up, I'll give you a call and let you know, so you can come film. You might be filming the last stigmata in the world. And I didn't even know what a stigmata was.
I am Sarah Tucker. I'm a junior at AC Reynolds High School.
Hey, Sarah, how you doing?
Sat in the big orange chair.
Good to see you.
The goal is to try to have an original album by basically next December.
I would love to see something in half that time, less than half that time. And
Ooh, too. Yeah.
and that's just too long for me.
Right.
It's amazing how fast time goes by. And,
Well, I know.
you know, capture the audience. You know, your sound is now relevant. How did you guys meet to get connected to do this?
At Sheila K's.
At where?
Sheila K. Adams.
Oh.
She had like a
Oh, okay.
party and she invited me over there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we met a lot of cool people that night. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
I'll have it rolling, so whenever she wants to start, she can go ahead and do that.
All set?
sit on the bench beneath my window every day. I keep it open wide. It's not every summer you get to hear the voice of an angel on the street outside. I used to frown down on your beat up Gibson, but now I kinda dig the tone. I dance around as you float through my window. I wonder why you sound so alone. What a beautiful voice, you're such a beautiful boy. What a beautiful smile, stick around for a while. Take a look at the girl who's got a head in a whirl over you. She knows every word to your song. What a beautiful boy. You always sit on the bench beneath my window every day. I keep it open wide.
Tell me about Sheila.
She has a way of making people love her for just who she is, and she has a way of making them take all of her and the goods and the bads and just rolling it into one good big thing. And I think that's really cool how she does that. She's taught me that it's always good to keep your youthfulness, really, and that you always want to have that soul, that old soul in you, but you never want to lose the happiness and the I guess insight that comes with being younger. My style of music is sort of alternative rock, some folk. It can get bluesy, but ballads have taught me to look in through other people. I've learned to see situations from a different perspective than I would have been looking at, than I would have seen through 16-year-old eyes. So I mean, I don't think ballad singing has died. I think it's been modernized, like some people say, but I don't think it's died. I think it's just changed a little bit, and and they're right. It isn't like how it was when our grandparents were alive or our great-grandparents were alive, but it's ours. And maybe it's good to keep some of the old ballads here, but I think it's also good to change them a little bit because it'll always be our music. It'll always be our song. So when you sing a ballad, it's your song. It's not anybody else's.
And should the rocks melt in the sun, I'll try to be there at your side. This was the summer after my husband Jim had died. And Jeff sat down with me in the table upstairs at St. Clair House and said, I have a love song that you have to learn. And this was it. It's called Bright Smile Haunts Me Still. It's been a year since last we met. We may never meet again. I have struggled to forget, but the struggle is in vain. For his voice lives on the breeze, his spirit comes at will. In the midnight on the seas, his bright smile haunts me still. In the midnight on the seas, Jim's bright smile haunts me still. The one thing that sustained me over the last 3 years, and I think this is fairly important, at least it was for me. I couldn't live in the present because it was too painful. Jim was not here. I couldn't go back to the past because of the fear of Jim, his personality changing. I couldn't go to the future because there is no future. And I was certainly not seeing a future. So what I did was I just closed my eyes and imagined all these wonderful arms that were wide open, just like they had been when I was a child, that were all standing there like this with their arms out, waiting to catch me. And so I just fell back into the love songs. I fell back into those days of sitting on the porch as a little girl when everybody I loved was still alive. Back then. The love song saved my life, literally, because that was the only place I could escape to that was peace. And I would bust out laughing in the middle of a shower, or bust out laughing at night because I would have a dream of Granny saying some off the wall. It's not, why, what's the matter with you? Walnut is a tree. It produces nuts. Walnut is a place between Marshall and Hot Springs. And I would just roar, you know. And so the tradition of singing the old songs is where I would go to, because there was love, peace, security there that was not anywhere in my present life at all.
He's a good singer too.
And my grandson Ezra is the great white hope. He is the big hope for this tradition. It would just please my heart if one of my children, and especially Ezra, would learn the songs.
Hey, Gigi, where's the chocolate?
Huh?
I don't know where the
What did I
chocolate
tell you it
is.
was?
On the counter?
Uh-uh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Liquid center.
And I said, yeah, I've had a piece or two of it. And he said, did you save me any? I said, yes. There you go.
What is this one? Are those not marshmallows?
Mm-hmm.
You're a pig.
Well, apple don't fall far from the tree, does it? No. Mm-mm.
No.
All right, up he goes. Come on. Come on. Got it?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
I don't want to hear any complaining about your back tomorrow.
You will not hear a word.
You have to run a little. Oh, you have to run a little bit faster if I do it.
Ezra thinks he's a star and he won't even sing.
And I am a star.
He won't even sing.
Oh.
Can you sing?
Yes.
Try.
Don't you hear the whistle of more? Don't you hear the whistle of more? Oh God, there's a soul that's singing in my soul, and the soul set free. Don't you hear the whistle of more? Don't you hear the whistle of more?
There's a Baptist preacher, you can tell him by his coat.
Coat.
Don't you?
Don't you hear the whistle of more?
Got a bottle in his pocket that he can hardly tote. Don't you?
Hear the whistle of more?
Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's singing in my soul and my soul's set free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
Am I a star?
You're a star.